we have the better story than the socialists and the communists out there and the governments trying to control. We have the better story. Don't believe the politicians. Don't believe the politicians when you tell you something, especially if
and
they
this is coming from a politician.
Yeah, because I had the chance to look behind the curtain for 7 years now.
Yes, the democracy today is really socialism in disguise.
Yeah, having CBDCs is total surveillance. It's total control of the state and of the banks of what you're doing. We went to some illegal parties in Berlin, and then we met all these left-wingers. We met the media people who told us something different on TV and went to illegal parties who weren't vaccinated. Yeah. And then you realize, okay, it's not left and right anymore.
Hello and welcome to an episode of You're the Voice. I'm Afat. I'm very happy to be here with you today, and I have a very special guest today, Joana Cotar. Joana, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for the invite.
I really appreciate you accepting my invitation, and I've wanted to speak to you for a long time. I've been following your work. I have been sharing some of your content on Twitter. I really think that you are one of those unusual politicians. I've had a couple of them on my show already. I've interviewed Christine Anderson and I've interviewed Senator Malcolm Roberts in Australia. I think they are terrific people. There are a few more out there in the world like that, but unfortunately, with the way the world looks like today, I find that there are not many politicians that we can look up to and appreciate as people who really have the best interest of the constituents at heart rather than their own political agenda at heart. And I think that you are one of those people that people can look up to and say, oh, here's someone that actually works for the people. And I really appreciate your work.
Thank you very much. That's very nice of you. Maybe that's because I'm not a real politician. Maybe that's because I worked in normal jobs. I was self-employed before I entered the parliament.
What were you doing before that?
I was a project manager before that. And paying taxes and seeing all the difficulties. It's something different when you come from university and just go straight to the parliament and become a politician for all your life. That's, I guess, something different. Christine Anderson is the same.
That's not her background. She was a mum, right?
Exactly, yeah. And maybe that's why we are different.
That's right. Okay, just for my audience that may not know, I'll just give a quick background. So Joana is a German politician who has been a member of the Bundestag, which is the German parliament, right? Since 2017. And Joana advocates for Bitcoin and sovereignty. And I would love you to really take us back to your background, where you came from, what you've done, and how you rolled out to this position. And, you stick with it now for what? 8 years, 7 years?
7 years
That's
now.
a long time.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about your background.
Yeah, well, I wasn't born in Germany. I was born in Romania under the Ceausescu regime. And that does something with you.
Right.
That's why you realize that freedom is really important. Once you lose it, it's hard to get back. It's hard to fight for it. And that's something which drove me into politics. I studied politics in Germany,
right?
So I studied something I do now.
You moved when you were a girl?
When I was 5, we came to Germany because my father was a political prisoner, and when it is like we have to go before we'll take him again into prison. We have to leave the country. And then I studied politics, and I had normal jobs, as I said before. And 2013, I decided I have to do something. We looked at the Euro crisis, the financial crisis, the European Union taking our sovereignty away from us, from the national states. And I was always sitting on my sofa listening to all the news, and I was raging on the sofa. I was screaming on the sofa, what's going on with this country? Why is there no one realizing we're going in the wrong direction? And then there came Professor Lucke, who founded the AfD, and I listened to one of his interviews, and I said, I'm in. And so I joined the AfD. I helped to build it up in Germany. And I was a member at the AfD until 2022. And I was elected into the German parliament 2017. I was the spokesperson for digital politics, digital affairs in the German Bundestag for my party. And I tried to push Bitcoin in the party. I tried to make it a topic, and I wasn't successful. They wouldn't have it. They don't understand it. And when I left the AfD in 2022, I said, okay, now I'm free. Now I'm an independent member of the German Bundestag, and I'm free to do whatever I want. I can push topics which are dear to my heart, which really matter to me. And because we started to look into Bitcoin, I first heard of Bitcoin in 2013, it's something that's now is the time to push that. Now is the time to educate my fellow MPs about Bitcoin, because talking to them about the topic, I realized they don't know what Bitcoin is. Mm-hmm. They see it as something terrorists use, or it's killing the climate and everything. So we have to change that.
Yep.
And that's why I created the initiative Bitcoin in the German Bundestag.
Your The Voice is brought to you by Trezor, the original Bitcoin hardware wallet company pioneering the development of self-custody for crypto assets since 2013, empowering individuals with an open source device, enabling beginners and experts to easily and securely hold their coins. I find my Trezor super easy to use and recommend it to my friends and family. Enjoy my 5% discount on Trezor products by clicking the link in the show notes and using the code FLAT. When you look at the political landscape in Germany, it may be different than in other countries. The way I see it in many Western democracies around the world is that the boundaries between left and right oftentimes, to me, are just so superficial and artificial and are not real. Like, this is left, this is right. In many instances, I feel like it's created only to divide people more. How do you see that? Do you think in Germany it's different? Is there a left and right? I mean, this whole political game, I find it so disturbing sometimes that it's like, why are we fighting on all those things instead of trying to find what unites us and work for the same cause?
Yeah. Well, in Germany, the population is divided like in every Western country. We had left and right years ago. I think these aren't the boundaries we have anymore, because I see leftists fighting for freedom. I see right-wingers fighting for freedom, especially during COVID times, seeing what the government did to us, taking away our basic rights. I'm not vaccinated, so I wasn't allowed to go to restaurants anymore. We went to some illegal parties in Berlin, and then we met all these left-wingers. We met the media people who told us something different on TV, and went to illegal parties who weren't vaccinated. Yeah. And then you realize, okay, it's not left and right anymore. Mm-hmm. We have fundamental problems, and we have to come together to fight against the governments, which who are putting pressure on us, who are taking away our rights, who are taking away our freedom. Mm-hmm. But in Germany, it's like, well, there's a new party, there are new people who are criticizing the government. Let's brand them as right-wingers.
This is very troubling, and this is where I always call parents to take the responsibility to educate kids. You know, I look at, my son is 15 years old. He now lives with his father, but when he lived with me and he would go to school and come back and tell me about the stuff he would learn at school, some of it was very woke, you know, like all the LGBTQ plus blah, 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 blah agendas. I would look at that and the climate stuff and everything. And I would actually sit with him and just give him the other side, just so that he has a full picture, so that he can see that this is very biased. This is very specific. The point of view that they're giving you is a very specific point of view. And here, you need to know everything about this topic, not just what they're teaching you. And if you choose to keep your child in that education system, in that public education system, I think as a parent, you have a responsibility to also make sure that what they're feeding them is just as non-biased as possible, or at least giving you the whole picture, so that the child is not then brainwashed, because that's what's happening today.
Yeah, that's what's happening in all the schools, also in Germany. It's like but it's the same in communism. It's like get the children. Yes. Yeah, indoctrinate the children. Right. And then they grow up and are these kind of people. So you're totally correct. You have to talk to your people, to your children at home, and tell them it's not the way. My brother has 4 children. I don't have, but I see him talking to his children and saying, no, okay, let's put this in perspective. Exactly. And I'm very, very happy that my nieces and nephews are like we are.
Yeah. This is so important these days. And a lot of parents ask me, you know, they become despaired and they go, we don't want to bring kids to the world because this world is so corrupt. Yeah, the world is going through big changes, and we do see a lot of darkness and evil stuff. But if we lose our hope and our faith in humanity and in the world, then what is our legacy? You know, I'm not saying everyone should have children. This is a personal choice, but you don't get despaired. You take responsibility instead, you know?
Yeah.
This is where Bitcoin for me is bringing a lot of hope. I want to ask you about your work in the German Bundestag and what you're doing today with relationship to Bitcoin and your advocacy. So what is your agenda? What do you do there in the Bundestag?
We thought about what can we do in order to change the perspective of Bitcoin within my colleagues, within the parliament. And then we came up with the idea, okay, we're starting an initiative, and we wrote together a suggestion how Germany can adapt Bitcoin, put it online for all the other parties in the parliament to look at it. And we said, okay, it's open source, just copy sentences, copy the whole thing, just read it. And I know that a lot of politicians, a lot of MPs read it because they used some of the sentences we put in some of it. So it made an impact. We have a website, we have a newsletter, but most important is we have these events in the German Bundestag. We started them at the beginning of this year, and it's not me explaining Bitcoin to the MPs because I'm honest, I get the idea, but if you go to mining, to the technical, I'm out. I'm out.
But you bring the experts.
I bring the experts. I invite the German experts to the Bundestag.
Okay, so Roman with you?
I've met Roman Jaya was twice, and there are people talking about Bitcoin mining. There are people talking about the third world countries, how important it is for the debanked people to use Bitcoin. Samson Mo is coming next week to talk about the nation adoption. So we covered all topics of Bitcoin because I said there's something for every party in Bitcoin. I mean, the Greens want to change, the Green Party wants to change our energy system. It's not working, it's failing. We have so high energy prices that we lose our companies, our industries, they're leaving the country. Not only individual, I mean, I see so many friends leaving the country, moving to El Salvador, to Panama, to Hungary, just getting out of Germany. And Bitcoin mining in the energy business, using it to grab the excess power, and it's a solution for the Green Party. So they need to listen. The leftists, when they're all with the human rights, Bitcoin is there for human rights, for economical sovereignty. When I see women in Afghanistan using Bitcoin, so that the Taliban don't notice they are into business. It's great. It's amazing. How can you try to ban that? Can you try to regulate that so that they can use it anymore? So there's something for every party there. That's what we try to cover. And of course, my most important view on Bitcoin is freedom.
Yes.
But that's not something I push into the face of the politicians.
Right.
Yeah, not to get them afraid that we're getting our sovereignty back, because we actually don't need politicians. We don't need the central banks. We need less state, more freedom. That's not something I put on versus like
for sure. That's not in the foreground.
Exactly.
In your work.
It's like Alex Gladstein said. It's the Trojan horse of freedom. Yes. That's what we try to do. And
when I interviewed Samson, he was saying that the mining is the best angle to come from, or the energy is the best angle to come from into states, because it shows them what the benefits could be for the state without then telling them that in the end of the day, they'll be giving their citizens more sovereignty. So
exactly.
And they do see the benefits of harnessing wasted energy. This is really great.
Well, they do it in other countries.
It's not a scam, it's real.
It's real. I mean, they see it in Texas, they see it in other countries, but they don't see it in Germany yet. So we need to come there, but we see a lot of companies forming now and advocating for it. We have the Bitcoin Federal Association was founded in the German Bundestag, I think 3 weeks ago.
Right.
There are a lot of companies, mining companies, joining this association to say, okay, we need to get active. We need to start to talk to politicians so that they see what they are doing wrong and what they can change about it, and how important Bitcoin mining can be for Germany. And that's something I always say when I'm at conferences or in interviews. you have to get up. You have to do something. If you want to see change, you have to do something. You can't sit on the sofa like I did in 2011, 12 and just raging and said, it's going downhill. Do something about it. And we politicians, we have so many topics we have to decide on. We have to read, and we can't know everything.
Of course.
So if they don't hear something about Bitcoin, it's not on their mind.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody has a politician, an MP, who is responsible for their county, which was elected into the German parliament or in parliament. Call them, make an appointment, go there, talk to them, tell them, if you want to have my vote, here's the topic you need to look into. It's Bitcoin. Right. What's your stance on Bitcoin? And when a lot of Bitcoiners do that, we can achieve something, because when politicians want something, it's to be reelected. That's the one thing on their mind. How can I get reelected?
That's what they care about.
How can I keep the power? How can I keep the money? How can I keep the prestige which comes with it? I'm a member of the German Bundestag. I am someone. So tell them, you want to be reelected? Go into Bitcoin.
Awesome. Okay. And let's talk a bit about CBDCs and the adoption, and then obviously Bitcoin as an antidote for that. But I've seen one of your speeches in the Bundestag when you spoke about CBDCs and how this could really violate people's privacy and human rights. And obviously we're seeing the CBDC train going full force in many, many countries around the world. The EU has already announced that next year, 2025, they're going to launch it. Obviously, they need the European Commission's approval for it, but this, to me, is just a rubber stamp. They're going ahead, marketing now the digital euro. It's taking shape. I've read a white paper from the German Central Bank saying that the CBDC is coming to Germany as well, but there was an interesting caveat there in the white paper where they actually admitted how they know that it's quite sensitive. They said that they know that if they cross the line, they go too far with the CBDC, the people can revolt or resist. So they have to be careful with how they implement it. And in a strange way, they kind of admitted that CBDC is going a bit too far, and they know it. So, even if people thought that, okay, it's a digital euro, it's your digital cash, that's the lie that they are trying to market now. Here you have the Central Bank of Germany actually admitting to you that they know that this is a pretty troublesome technology here. So what's your stand about that? How do you see the CBDC going into Germany and EU in general?
Yeah, well, as far as I know, they plan for 2028. So we still have time to inform the people what dangers come with this CBDC. The good thing in Germany is people love their cash money. They love paying by cash. You see now that they're trying to push us more and more using your credit card and using the debit card and everything to get used to not having cash. And that's something I fear, that when you push the people to use the cards and they get used to it, and some of the shops don't accept cash anymore. It's not, I see it in other countries more than I see it in Germany. It's cash only. I mean, the hotel I'm here in, it's cash, it's card only. So the people get used to it, and someday will say, okay, we don't need we don't use cash anymore. Let's switch to the digital euro. And I saw that during, then they said, okay, when you get your vaccination, you get something free for that. And it works. And I think when they introduce the digital euro, they will say, okay, if you pay with the digital euro, you get 20% off. That's how you get people. So we still have time.
Or you get some free money to begin with, some airdropping. Right.
Exactly. And that's, if we still have a couple of years, we need to do something about it, and to make sure that people wake up and see that having CBDCs is total surveillance. It's the total control of the state and of the banks of what you're doing.
Right.
And they don't only see what you're spending on. They can interfere. They can hinder you to buy something, to send money to a certain party you support. I mean, we had our ministers saying nobody should think that if you send some money to right-wing parties, that will be not discovered by the state. And you know what's coming, and they're telling you, no, don't be afraid, we won't look into it. They will. If you give them the possibility to look into it and to control you, of course politicians will use that. Don't do it. Don't give them the architecture of surveillance and give them the possibility to do that. And seeing that in Germany, they said, oh, seeing the measures and how they helped, we can put that into place regarding climate, saving the climate. That's what the health minister told us. We can put that into place. So when we have the digital euro and they say, okay, we have to save the climate, maybe you get a CO2, how do you say that in English? CO2 carbon, exactly, account. And then you say, okay, you're allowed to book one flight.
Exactly.
You try to pay for another flight, it's not going to happen. We get another pandemic and they say you're allowed to 1 kilometer from your house. You think you can pay for a restaurant in 2 kilometers? You can't. You're not vaccinated, you can't pay anything, right? These are the dangers, and the people need to realize it, that it's not a conspiracy theory.
No.
They will do it. Look at China. Look what they're doing in China.
And they're doing that also now in Thailand. They're rolling out their CBDC project in Thailand, and they're putting an expiry date of 6 months on the money. And it's in a radius of 4 kilometers around your house. And the excuse is we want to stimulate the local economy.
Yeah.
But they are limiting it, geofencing it to 4 kilometers around where you live. And in order to participate, like to get that free money, it's $280 worth, 10,000 baht. It's a lot of money for the average Thai. They have to register on the taxing system of Thailand. And most people in Thailand are not registered digitally. So they have to have a digital ID and they have to roll into the CBDC program. And then they have those limitations of where they can use the money. Oh, by the way, and what they can use the money for. It's also not alcohol, not tobacco. There are certain limitations. You can only use it for like groceries or this or that. Yeah. So it shows you the actual features of CBDCs are being exercised, implemented in real life. This is happening. Yeah. China, Thailand, in many other places. Nigeria, they're trying to do it.
I actually didn't know that about Thailand.
Yeah. I wrote about it. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, but that's a good example, which I will use in the future when I talk about.
I will send you the article so you can have a
please, because that's the best example to show that this is going to happen. Yeah, just don't believe the politicians. Don't believe the politicians when you tell you something, especially if
and
they
this is coming from a politician.
Yeah, because I had the chance to look behind the curtain for 7 years now.
Yes.
And seeing people lying to the faces of the voters just to become their votes. And I mean, I see the Liberal Party now in Germany. They were in the opposition when I was elected into parliament. I listened to them for years and I said, they're on the right path. They know what's important. They're fighting for freedom. Now they're in the government. They're doing the exact opposite.
Oh my God.
It's like...
It's corrupting them.
Totally. They're fighting against freedom for the people. They're for CBDCs, the Liberal Party in Germany.
Wow.
It's crazy. And seeing that they're saying the exact opposite, just a couple of months between them, it's like, no, that's politics for you.
Right.
That's politics for you.
So you're saying resist it. Find your way to make your voice heard.
Exactly.
Take action.
Yeah, and that's why I'm so into Bitcoin, because I think we can take away the power from these kind of people. We can take away the power from the parties. I don't think all politicians are like that. I think there are some good acts in there who are trying to do their best. But the system is broken. The party system is broken. It's all about the money they can get and the power they can keep. And that's something we need to fix. We need to fix the system so that it's going to work. It doesn't matter which party wins the election, as long as the system's still broken.
And so for my audience that is non-Bitcoiners yet, because I have quite a few that are following me from the time, I'm like you, I'm not vaccinated. I was a dissident voice to the government and all the measures of and everything. So a lot of the people that are following this podcast are freedom fighters and people that care about their sovereignty, their autonomous, their bodily autonomy, their sovereign right on their finances. And I advocate for gold and I advocate for Bitcoin. So why would they go for Bitcoin? How would you explain to them why Bitcoin is probably better than CBDC?
Well, first of all, the government can control Bitcoin. It's decentralized. They can't take it away from you.
Hold on, I want to stop there because people may not get what you said. I know it sounds very simple to you and me,
Yeah.
but listen to this. This is a politician tell you the government cannot control Bitcoin. Many of my audience are like, but they can control it. No, they can't.
No, they can't. They can't take it away from you. They can't censor it.
Yep.
Like we saw in Canada with the truckers, when they got all the money from the people in order to support their fight against being vaccinated, the government took away everything from them, the credit cards, PayPal, the bank accounts, everything. So they switched to Bitcoin, and the government couldn't take that away from them. So,
That was the only money that managed to get to them.
exactly. So, I mean, if you only see this, I think that's already enough to know why you should switch to Bitcoin. Yeah, and we see that in Germany that if you belong to the wrong party, you get debanked. The bank is just canceling your account. So that's not going to happen with Bitcoin. And of course, just look at the inflation we have. Now in the European Union, they aim for 2%, and they say 2% inflation is okay. No, it's not okay. Not even 1% inflation is okay. It's
Exactly.
stealing money from the people.
Exactly.
And in other countries, it's much worse. And they have inflation rates, I don't know, 100, 150%. Bitcoin doesn't fight against that. You don't have inflation with Bitcoin. So you
Your
take
money is not being debased.
exactly. So you're taking away the power from the politicians. You're taking away the power from the banks. And if we use Bitcoin, Bitcoin is limited, so you can't print more Bitcoin. And the basic problem we have in the world is the money printing system.
Thank you.
Every politician is like, how can we solve the problem? Let's print some money. And it's not going to work. And we will see financial crisis in the future, which will be much worse than what we have seen now and with Lehman and with other, because you can't print money with open ended. It's like, let's do it. No, someone has to pay for it. And it will be bad, I think. I fear
agree
it will
with
be
you.
bad.
I agree with you. And yes, you cannot print your way out of this fiat
No,
conundrum. It's not going to work.
no.
And we've seen a lot of empires, including the Weimar Empire in Germany, falling.
Yeah.
Again and again, and there are examples in history of fiat currencies collapsing because you get to the end of the cycle and you cannot inflate it to forever.
Yeah.
And then you just have to reset.
Yeah.
And so when I interviewed Ed Dowd, for example, he used to be an ex-BlackRock analyst. He was saying, we're going to see the bubble burst, but this time it's the bubble of everything. It's not just the bubble of, or real estate, or this is the bubble of everything that's going to collapse.
Yeah.
So that there are some painful times ahead, and I'm with you to hedge yourself, go into alternative systems that can really hedge your wealth and
Exactly.
make sure that you're safe in
Yeah.
these times. By the way, to what you said before, I've read recently that in Germany, they said that they are working on a bill to be able to censor your bank account or close your bank account if you are considered extreme right wing.
They're already doing it. They're already doing it
unbanking
to
people.
members of the AFD who are now elected into parliament. So the names are being published.
Like Nigel Farage in the UK.
Yeah, and they get the letter from the bank. Sorry, we're going to close your account. You have, I don't know, a couple of weeks to look for a new bank, and it's hard. It's hard to find a bank.
And you
then.
probably stand there and you go, I told you about Bitcoin, guys.
That's exactly what I did. I said, well, now they're getting debanked. Maybe they get why I wanted to push Bitcoin within the party. There are some people.
Do they come and ask you?
I have some AFDL come to me and say, can we sit together and you explain to me Bitcoin, what it is about? So hopefully they're going to push for it. It's like, we'll see.
Unfortunately, sometimes from the pain you learn, right? You experience these things, and then you're like, okay, I heard Joanna talk about the Bitcoin thing. Maybe I should get interested.
Yeah, it's always, you have to make your own experiences.
Exactly.
So you try to warn people, but as long as they don't see it for themselves, they don't believe it. And it's sad that it's that way, but that's how
That's
we
how
human
life
beings
works.
are.
Yeah, that's how human beings run. So my next question about relating to what we talked about with CBDCs, let's assume enough people resist it and there is an action against it and people start becoming more aware, and the government notices that the people don't want it. In Canada, it happened recently when they said, okay, we're not going to launch CBDC because they did a survey and it was tens of thousands of people that answered this survey and the results were clear. We don't want this and we don't want you to take our cash away as well. So they announced, okay, we're not going to do it. I don't really believe them, but what they did say they're doing is we're working on a national stablecoin. And Trump said the same thing when we were in Nashville. He said, I'm not on my watch, they're not going to be a CBDC, but I am working on a national official stablecoin for the US. And we're seeing stablecoins becoming more and more of a thing, right? And they also help inflate the fiat bubble. And while I do see the good things in stablecoins, like how they help people in developing countries, etc., I do see them as a risk as well. So what's your stand about stablecoins and how do you see them in that big game of digitizing our money by the state?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I also see the danger. That's why my initiative is also Bitcoin only. I don't want someone to be in charge of something. I don't want someone to be able to take it away from us again.
Right.
I want it to be decentralized. I want it to be that we can trust that there are so many nodes running, so many people looking after Bitcoin that it's impossible to change it. It's impossible to take it away from you. And with stablecoins, you don't have that.
Correct. It's centralized as
It's
well.
centralized as well. There's someone in charge. There's someone who can take it away from you. That's something
Heavily regulated.
Yeah. So no. For me, it's Bitcoin only.
Great. Okay. Bitcoin adoption in Germany by the public. What is the sentiment? Where do we stand in Germany today?
We have a long way before us.
Right, and regulation as well.
Absolutely. The problem is the media, like always. If you have the media against you, then it's really hard. And in Germany, there are still a lot of people who believe the media, who watch the news at 8 p.m. in the evening. That's all they get. They are not online. They don't get their information from somewhere else. And they believe what they're saying. And the German media is like, uh-oh, that's dangerous. Bitcoin is dangerous. They even claim Hamas is using Bitcoin. And now the European Union spends, I think, 600,000 euros to prove that Bitcoin is bad for the climate. So that's the...
Did they?
Yeah.
600,000 euros
on a survey to prove that that's the initiative.
Wow.
We want to prove that Bitcoin is bad for the climate.
that.
And the media, of course, picks that up and say, look, yeah, we're going to try to save the climate and everything, and they are working against us. So it's still a long way, but when there's one good thing coming out of COVID, it's that a lot of people woke up. More people are now seeing that the government is the problem and that they are not working for the people, but against the people. And they are starting to look for ways, how can we change it? We see different medias popping up, like free media in Germany, like you do.
Independent Germany. I follow Aya Velasquez, for example. I love Aya and her
I love
work.
Aya.
Yeah.
She's doing a great work.
Yeah.
With the RKI files we have now, and can look back what the politicians really did during. It's so important to have these people, and you see more of them, and that gives me a little bit of hope that then when they realize Bitcoin is exactly what they need, we just have to tell them about them. We have to educate them, inform them, and then I think we're on the good track. But they don't get enough information yet, and that's something we have to change.
Well, I think that the work that you're doing is definitely echoing and is going to do more and more for people to just become aware that there is an alternative, that you can start looking at new things that you haven't looked at before, and it may be a good solution for what's happening right now in your backyard.
And the good thing is even Bitcoiners become more political now. When I started being in the Bitcoin space and talking to Bitcoiners, it was like, no, leave me alone with politics. I'm not even voting. I have my Bitcoin, that's enough. So I don't care what the governments are doing because I'm fine. And I have so many Bitcoiners calling me now, Joanna, what can we do? I have Bitcoiners asking me about how do we create a party? How do we found a party? Can we do a Bitcoin party? And that's something where I say, yes, yes.
See, it's you. You lead by example. You do it already. They see you. They see what you do, the impact you have, and they're like, okay, how can we be part of this?
They realize that they have to do something. And that also gives me a lot of hope because I always say we need these people in politics. We don't need politicians. We need bright people who get it, who think about the future, who have a positive outlook on the future, who don't see the risk but the chances in politics. And it's hard to get these people in politics because they are scared off. I understand it. After 7 years now in the parliament, 11 years in politics, I'm happy when I'm out of there. But yeah, we need more non-politicians in politics. You see it with Milei.
Yes.
Yeah, he's not a politician. And what great job is he doing now in Argentina? I keep fingers crossed that will be successful and that he can continue the way. And when we see that Argentina is successful, maybe some other states wake up and say, okay, socialism is not the solution. Maybe we should look into, not Marx, but Mises.
Yeah, the problem is that the people have to understand that the democracy today is really socialism in disguise.
Yeah.
It's not really a democracy. It's not really a modern way of living. This is what has happened many, many times before in history. It's just disguised.
Yeah. And they need to realize that actually they have the power to change that. Yeah. The politicians are the employees of the people who vote them into office. And they need to realize I have the power. And if enough of us are going on the streets and say, enough, we are not going to have this anymore, then the politicians have no chance. They stand no chance. We saw it with the fall of the Berlin Wall. The people went to the streets, said we're going to fight for freedom. And even if they have the tanks and even if they're threatening to kill us, we're going to fight for freedom. And they were successful. Yeah, the UdSSR collapsed. So we don't have the danger of getting shot when we're going demonstrate on the streets. We went during times and said, well, yeah, the police was pretty hard on us.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, pretty hard, but we still win. Mm-hmm. And we need more of the people on the streets telling the government enough.
What do you think the role is of the higher up global organizations in all of that, in like top down kind of relationship with the government? We know the BIS has a lot of power. We know the EU has a lot of power. So how do you see that? Because you refer a lot to the government being, the source of the problem and the media enforcing them. But how do you see the role of the larger global organizations, the WEF, the WHO, the UN, etc.?
I mean, just look at how they execute their power. I mean, look at the Young Global Leaders program they have, and look how many young global leaders are now leaders.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're infiltrating. How do you say we're infiltrating the cabinet?
Yeah, they installed their people there.
Right.
But I still think the national governments are responsible because sovereignty isn't something you get. Sovereignty is something you take, you execute. And if I'm a chancellor of Germany and Biden is standing next to me and said, well, Nord Stream 2 is not happening, it's my responsibility as a German chancellor to say, excuse me, we're partners, we're fine. But of course, Nord Stream 2 will happen because it's a German project. Mm-hmm. And that's our sovereignty. We are making the decision about if you don't do that, if you don't stand up to your partners, to these global organizations, then of course you lose your sovereignty. So that's why I still see the responsibility at the national government.
Right.
Of course, all these organizations try to get more and more power. We see the WHO saying, okay, by the next pandemic, we want to rule the world.
Exactly.
But we had the topic in the German Bundestag, and the majority of the politicians voted for it. Say, okay, in the next pandemic, we're giving away all our power to the WHO. They can make all the decisions. And I mean, what the hell? How can a national government do that to people who are not elected? Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, where are all the people, where are all the Germans, where are all the telling the government, no, we don't want that. We didn't elect these people. We don't know these people. We saw what happened during the last. Where are they? Where are the protesters?
Yeah, people are very tired, and yeah, we definitely need to wake up to this reality and take action, take responsibility.
But I mean, I don't know how it is in Israel or in other countries. I see it in Germany. They over the years, they implemented the thought that don't worry, don't be afraid. The government is looking after you.
Of course, it's the same.
Yeah, it's like, please don't think for yourself.
Big brother is taking care of you. Don't worry.
Yeah, exactly. So
You're safe. Yeah,
and that's what
it's for your protection. It's for
course.
your wealth.
We only want the best for you.
Of course.
And that's what the people got used to. Yeah, I don't have to look after myself if I lose my job, because somehow the state will help me to get a new job. When I have children, the state will help me to grow the children. They're all saying, okay, I don't have to worry or care or be self-responsible for what I'm doing. I'm just letting the politicians take care of me. And they're so used to it in Germany that now then you're seeing, okay, we are in crisis, we need change. Somehow I think they don't know what to do anymore. Mm-hmm. They're not used to be self-responsible and say, okay, I'm responsible for myself. I take the power and I exercise it. And maybe that's why they are also a little bit afraid of Bitcoin, because that's something what you're responsible for. There is no bank when you lose something saying, okay, I want my money back. You're responsible for that. But freedom comes with responsibility.
That's right.
So you have to take both of it. And that's the only way to get real freedom.
Yep. Responsibility brings freedom.
Yeah.
Just to give you an example of what it looks like in Israel, the vice governor of the Bank of Israel recently said in one of his speeches regarding CBDC, oh, don't worry, your CBDC is not going to be issued by this anonymous Satoshi Nakamoto. It's going to be minted by the Bank of Israel, which you trust. And so, don't worry, we've got you covered. It's all good. He actually referred to Satoshi Nakamoto.
No way.
Speech. Yeah, this is how much they're afraid.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. I can give you the quote. It's really funny. It's really funny.
Yeah, so please, people in Israel don't believe him.
Yeah. I will give you everything. So, Joanna, any last words of hope, some last message you want to give to the people who are following us? I do have a lot of audience from Germany, but also a lot from Europe and around the world.
Well, actually, I was at the ARC conference last year, and it was all about the better story. And we have the better story than the socialists and the communists out there and the governments trying to control. We have the better story. We need to tell the story. We need to tell the story of freedom, sovereignty, of being responsible for ourselves. And that's the responsibility for each and every one of us, to tell the better story, not to sit on your sofa, not to just worry and don't do anything. Go out there, open your mouth, speak up, talk to the politicians, do something to make the change you want to see real and happen.
Thank you so much. I really hope that people will take your advice and come into action. Follow Joanna on Twitter. Are you a Noster as well?
I'm a Noster as
You're
well, of course. Yeah.
Okay, great.
For months now, yeah.
Great. So follow Joanna on Noster on Twitter. I really appreciate your work. Thanks for taking the time to be here with me.
Thanks for having me.